Welcome to Rights of Way Research. I'm Dr. Joe Thorogood and I'm going to talk to you about step 2 of our 4-step process for protecting public rights of way. Using historic maps to first investigate a route or set of routes you believe are at risk. If you're watching this clip, you're probably already aware of this threat to public rights of way in England and Wales. If not, there are 2 videos you should watch. This introductory video on threats to rights of way, which we're linking to now, and step 1, which is about checking a route against a definitive map and statement, which we're linking to now. Before we go diving into the local history archives to find evidence of a specific right of way, we can do some quick and easy research from our own computers using online historic maps. Public rights of way are old. They reflect the legacies of the travelling British public. If our route in question is recorded as a right of way on historic maps, we'll know people in the past used a route as a public right of way, which means it's likely that they will appear on other valuable evidence sources, such as local highway authority records. There are many places you can view old maps of the UK online. The most comprehensive database is found on the National Library of Scotland's website. We've posted a link to their website in the description to this video below. We'll focus on Ordnance Survey maps, or OS maps. There are other useful maps, such as Bartholomew's Maps for the Travelling Public, that can be found on the National Library of Scotland's website too. But the OS has been making maps since the 1750s. There are a lot to look at, but they are by far the most comprehensive and thorough. Fortunately, we can narrow down the range of maps we're interested in by time, scale and location. Time. We're interested in routes that were created prior to the National Parks and Access to the Countryside Act. This act was passed in 1949 and it created definitive maps and statements and required local authorities to survey their regions for rights of way. At-risk routes are, by definition, those which were not recorded on maps after these dates, but they are often found on OS maps before this time. This means that we are interested in maps published before 1949. Scale. When it comes to footpaths and bridleways, we're interested in detail, so we want maps with a small scale. The most detailed maps for the travelling public were the OS 1 inch to the mile maps. 6 inch to the mile maps were made for professionals and they show plenty of detail as well, but by far the most detailed maps are the county series, also known as the 25-inch maps. These are so detailed that they show gates in fields and barriers on roads. Early editions of the 25-inch county series maps also had area books, which were reference books for what was contained in a specific place. The second edition of the county series maps were used as base maps for the 1910 Finance Act's land valuation surveys. These land valuation maps are a very important source of evidence of a public right of way that we'll touch on in step 3, so getting familiar with the 25-inch county series maps is a very good idea. Finally, location. The 2026 deadline only affects routes in England and Wales, so these are the locations we will be searching for. And with these criteria, we can narrow down our search to specific maps. For instance, if I want a 25-inch second edition county series map of the Malvern area in Worcestershire, and I want it published in the late 1800s, the National Library of Scotland's catalogue makes it very easy for me to find this. Once we've got our map, we're looking for evidence of the route or the routes you've identified as missing from the maps today, but they will be recorded as public rights of way in the past. It's easy to spot these for footpaths and bridleways, as most old OS maps use dotted lines and an FP or BR to indicate these 2 features, although some of the earliest 1 inch to the mile maps did not record bridleways this way. With byways, the searching is trickier. Early OS maps did not record byways as byways. Instead, they used terms such as roads, first and second class, or minor roads, and unmetalled roads. You'll find more information on identifying byways in the guide for this step on our website. If you do find evidence of a public right of way, you've got good grounds to find more evidence of the public right of way in other evidence sources. So as you start to collect your evidence, meticulous record keeping is key. Make sure you keep a spreadsheet of the maps you're going to use as evidence with the following information: scale, edition, year of publication, and revision. If possible, give a grid reference for the location too. You can also take a screenshot of the route A definitive map modification order application is not published and is exempt from copyright regulations, so you can easily insert screenshots, photographs, or copies of the evidence into your application. So when you find this evidence, how useful is it? Well, we use the STAR system recommended in Sarah Ann Buck's and Phil Wadey's excellent book, Restoring the Record for Rating Public Rights-of-Way Evidence. You can order the book from their website. We'll post a link in the description below. On Buck's and Wadey's STAR system, most old maps can only ever give us 2 stars of evidence. This is low scoring compared to other evidence. But why? If my route is clearly marked on an old OS map, then why isn't that proof of a public right-of-way? Why should I need more evidence? The answer can be found on the disclaimer of nearly all OS maps. The representation of a road, track or footpath is no evidence of a right-of-way. Ordnance survey maps and other maps don't confirm a public right-of-way is a legal route, they only show it. Only the definitive map and statement can say whether or not a public right-of-way is legally registered. OS maps merely show the physical existence of a route or a track, rather than giving concrete evidence of their legality. To find evidence of these legal rights, we need to dig deeper into the archives, often exploring things such as tithe maps, enclosure awards, and other local authority documents. These are often found in the local records offices or National Archives and the British Library in London. If you don't find evidence of your route, it might be that the route isn't a public right-of-way. But, as with all rights-of-way research, we need multiple sources to confirm whether or not a route actually exists, beyond the balance of probabilities. Don't rely just on OS maps or any historic maps as your sole source of evidence. Step 3 discusses how you can use physical pieces of evidence in more depth by visiting local archives and records offices.